Hey guys, how's it going? If you haven't seen by now, I uploaded a combo video using some of the new cards from the Power of Fellow structure deck, the one that's meant to support Yusei and his Junk Warrior, as well as some of the other cards that he used. Now, I'm really happy with the structure deck and the fact that Yusei is getting one because, I like the character. I think Yu-Gi-Oh! 5Ds is the best series, as well as I think Junk Warrior is a really cool card, and I'm very glad that they gave him the I guess the final battle against Red Dragon Archfiend at the end of Yu-Gi-Oh! 5Ds, so I was very excited about the structure deck. And while I do like a lot of the art, I'm not gonna lie, the cards are pretty disappointing. I would almost say that they're terrible. However, I'm very patient, a lot more patient than other people. I know a lot of people immediately had their first gut reaction and said the cards were terrible and the structure deck was gonna be awful. Now, I think the initial wave of cards are very disappointing. However, I'm gonna wait a bit before I say it's awful, just because a lot of structure decks in the past have come out and they've had some very disappointing opening cards. I remember the Dragoonity structure deck. The first couple cards they revealed were pretty disappointing. However, the other cards they revealed after were pretty good. It happened with some other structure decks before, so I'm willing to wait because there might be a couple of good cards. We've only got 4 cards revealed out of the 8 so far, so there could definitely be some really good cards to save the structure deck. But I'm very disappointed in the approach that they went with it. I understand why they made Junk Warrior like the way that they want to make the structure deck focused on battle damage and trying to OTK the opponent, because the whole point of Junk Warrior original effect for the original card that they had that Yusei used in 5Ds was that it gained attack based on low level monsters that were on the field by the time it was summoned, so I totally understand that. But the one part that disappoints me about the structure deck is how almost none of the previous cards work that well with some of the new cards, and I know people will say that the cards mention Stardust Dragon, so of course they're trying to tie in Stardust Dragon with the rest of Yusei Synchro and Warriors, but it doesn't really work that well in a practical gameplay sense. Now, the way that they've gone about this is that they've tried to make cards that mention Junk Warrior and Stardust Dragon, such as Synchro Fellows, which is by far the only good card revealed so far. It lets you add 2 cards to your hand, a Junk Synchron or a monster that mentions Junk Warrior or Stardust Dragon, and then you discard a card. So they're trying to tie in cards such as Stardust Synchron because that card mentions Stardust Dragon. And Stardust Synchron searches spell and traps that mention Stardust Dragon, so you get to search other cards like Arrive in Light, Majestic Mirage, or Stardust Illumination. So as you can see, they're trying to attempt or disguise the fact that they're trying to support both Junk Warrior, which for the new cards, and some of the older cards that support Stardust Dragon. But in the practical sense, it just doesn't work that way. The new Mythic monsters are actually so bad that the only reason you're playing them is because you search them with Synchro Fellows and you discard them. They're just level 2 monsters that you discard, so you have them in the grave so you can normal summon Junk Synchro and Synchro with them. They might as well be vanilla monsters because their effects are actually so bad that I don't really understand why Konami made them. This is the year 2025, not 2015. If the cards were released even a couple years ago, they would still be bad in the modern game environment. Now, it's actually crazy how bad some of these cards are in the modern environment. Now, Fullspeed Warrior is easily better than the original Speed Warrior, and it's not that difficult because Speed Warrior, all it does is it doubles its attack during the battle phase, which is not that great. What this card does is when it's normal or special summon, it lets you add a Junk Synchron or one spell or trap that mentions Junk Warrior from your deck to your hand. Now, on paper, this sounds great because you can bring it back from the grave with Junk Synchron, so you essentially have a 1 card combo, but Junk Synchron negates the effect of the monster it summons. How come this card doesn't say when it's used as Synchro material, you get to add the card instead? That would be a lot better, and it would actually solve the issue of Junk Synchro negating the effects of the monster that it summons. Now, don't even get me started on how bad Hedgehog is. Now, this card is cool, and I love the art on these new cards because if you notice them, they're just a retrain of the original monsters that have a scarf, because the whole thing about Yusei's monsters and the thing that they've noticed is that Junk Synchron and the Synchro monster, Junk Warrior, all have scarves, and I think it's a cool trend that they've actually done with the new cards. When they retrained, or when they made a new card, Junk Speeder, it's basically Speed Warrior but has a scarf on him, so they can tell that that's kind of the key point of the Junk card, so they're paying homage to the original Junk Synchron. And then you have Fullspeed Warrior and Anchorbolt Hedgehog, who also have scarves, so it's a nice detail that they've added. However, the thing that ruins these cards, despite them having cool artwork, is that they paid no attention into making these cards actually playable in the deck. Now, Hedgehog special summons itself from the grave if you have Junk Warrior or a monster that mentions it, which is cool, and it's also a quick effect, but the problem is this card locks you into synchros for the rest of this turn. This effect isn't even that good. They tried to circumvent this by making this card seem better than it actually is, because Most of the time when a card brings itself back from the grave, it banishes itself, so it tries to make it sound like it's a one-time use. However, even if the card banishes itself, it wouldn't even be that big of a deal because the card isn't even that good. The original Quillbolt Hedgehog is so much better because this card special summons itself back from the grave as long as you have a tuner monster on the field, which is phenomenal. It's so much better and it doesn't have a restriction on it. Yeah, the card banishes itself, but you have to remember that's actually not even that bad of a thing. This card came out in a great era of Yu-Gi-Oh! Where there are no such things as a hard once per turn. This card doesn't have a hard once per turn, it doesn't even have a soft once per turn, it just banishes itself, which actually isn't even that bad, because you can use a card like DTR that you search off Power Tool Dragon, discard a card, and bring it back, and then when it hits the grave, as long as you have a tuner monster, you can keep bringing it back. That's actually so good. You can use it as many times as you want, as long as you have a way to bring it back from the banished pile. Then it hits the grave, you special summon it again, and then you keep comboing. It's crazy that a card that came out in April 2008 in Duelist Genesis is better than a card they made 17 years later in a structure deck. Like, how is that actually possible that they thought that Anchor Hedgehog would be better than the regular Quillbolt Hedgehog? Anyone reading these two cards can definitely tell that Quillbolt Hedgehog is better. I love the art on Anchorbolt Hedgehog, but that's really about it. The card is terrible, and there's no way that I'm ever going to use this card over Quillbolt Hedgehog. Even Yusei's new boss monster is so sad. I love the art on this card so much because it's a reference to how Junk Warrior finishes off Red Dragon Archfiend at the end of Yu-Gi-Oh! 5Ds. It's also really cool how Scar Red Dragon Archfiend, the card that Jack got for his structure deck, mirrors that this card's pose, so it's really cool. However, that's really about it. Junk Warrior Extreme is a really bad card. Now, like I said, it's only bad right now. I'm very patient and I'm willing to wait to see more cards from the structure deck because, like I said, a lot of cards that get revealed at near the end or during the middle of a product wave that fix it makes the original cards that get revealed a lot better. So who knows, there could be this really cool card that helps you OTK with Junk Warrior that makes him unaffected by other cards and negates effects. Who knows? But as it stands right now, this card is terrible. It lets you special summon as many level 2 or lower monsters from your grave, which sounds really cool, but you can only special summon once for the rest of this turn. It's really disappointing because, like I said, the art is amazing. This card just does nothing to help Synchro, Junk Speeder, or Stardust Dragon in any way. Hopefully some of the future cards that Konami reveals from the structure deck can save this card and make it playable, because like I said, the artwork's amazing. Love the fact that it's a reference to the final episode of Yu-Gi-Oh! 5Ds against Red Dragon Archfiend. Like I said, it's really sad how we have one card, Synchro Fellows, that's actually good out of the original wave. It's really disappointing how a Quillbolt Hedgehog Retrain is worse than the original card that came out 17 years later. I'm really hoping that Konami can salvage the structure deck because, like I said, I was really hoping it's going to be good, but as it stands right now, it seems like the structure deck is going to be terrible. But hopefully they can turn things around, and that's it. Take care. See you guys later.